You ever been walking through the Navy Exchange and wonder why all the Naval Pride and Heritage gear is horrifically ugly and you wouldn't actually wear it? Have you ever wanted some really cool gear and you just don't know where to go? Well, I got you, fam. Go to dgutspodcast.com immediately. Get yourself some Naval Pride and Heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. We're working on new designs all the time, open to ideas. We're trying to create a brand that lets you display that pride, but doesn't make you cringe. Also, if you're willing to and you're able to, please go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast, pick one of the 5 tiers, and become a patron today. What's up, everybody? Let's spin some yarn. Today, I'm going to do another kind of response to a Reddit post. This one was, it was one of those ones where it's like, it's too easy, and it got my blood up just a little bit. And it's just frustrating to see that this is still a real thing, but and it looks like a throwaway Reddit account, so I'm not going to even bother with the dude's username, but you can find the post pretty easily if you search for the title, which is the Navy just a job to you, or do you actually serve your country? Which, I feel like most people that are critical thinkers and kind of not captured by either one side or the other, where they're not all in on being bitter, angry, and hating the Navy, or the other side of full Kool-Aid drinking moto hoo-yah machine. You can kind of tell where this is gonna go, and it's already as soon as I read the headline, I'm like, oh, that's a bold thing to post on Reddit. But then I'm going to read the post, and then I'll get into some commentary on just how brain dead I think this take is, but also it did seem it might have just been after all the pushback, it might have just been a half-hearted attempt at trying to seem like they were really trying to solicit feedback. But the way this is written, it doesn't feel like an actual ask for feedback, even though the question appears as the subject title. But it says, seeing a lot of complaining about little shit over the past few years from people who really don't have much going on, which I'll just read the whole thing first. I'm aware that people come from different backgrounds and some don't like being told what to do. So when it comes to executing tasks, workups, admin workstations, etc., it's inconvenient to do the little things. So the question I find myself asking everyone around me is, are you in the Navy to serve your country, or are you just in it as a job? If it's a job to you, then you did this to yourself. Request early separation or stop whining. If it's a service to you, then execute what you're being asked to do and move on. It's a simpler job at the lower level, and everyone has started there. Stop making things so damn difficult for yourself and others. That's the whole post. Holy shit. I try to be charitable on these things because more because I'm trying to see both sides of the argument than I am trying to spare anyone's feelings or whatever. This shit, it's it starts just complaining about little shit over the past few years, which I wish, I wish you would have specified what you qualify as little shit, because if little shit is tasks, workups, admin work, and stations, which I'm assuming they mean battle stations or something. I don't know. Drills, maybe. That's not the little things. That's everything. That's the brunt of the stressors for everyone, really. But he's targeting this presumably at junior enlisted, he or she. I'm assuming it's a he. And that's the brunt of all of the stressors that the unavoidable mission related stressors that come with the territory of being in the military. And then you layer on top of that the stressors of leadership incompetence, the kind demonstrated by this person by posting this brain dead shit. that's what pushes them over the edge to either separate because they're disgusted by the way they were treated, by the climate, by the like what we're trying to pass off as leadership, by everything. But it's like and there was a comment down below where it talks about like people want to do the thing, like they want to do the right thing. They want to complete the mission and be part of the organization and the team, whether or not that's from some sense of duty to the country or just like a feeling a part of a community or membership to like a group or a tribe or whatever, is irrelevant, honestly. Well, mostly, I would say. I'll get into why I'm saying mostly in a bit. I got some notes I'm going to go through. I'm baffled that somebody would post something like this on Reddit. So let me just start going through the notes so that I don't get too off track. Cause I like went through this and line by line, let it kind of hit me, and then went through the thread of the responses and incorporated some of that into my notes. But like just starting with the serving your country, like idea, right? In the context it's being used here, it's like this catch-all thing where think about it like when somebody says something's un-American, right? Or I'm sure there are other like things like that, but like it's like this thing like that people try to use as like this catch-all excuse for you doing more and more and more with less and less and less, and like you. Like as the reason you should feel shame for not being 10 feet tall and bulletproof and being able to operate on no sleep and like being perfect in all of those moments of high stress where you are like redlining and have no sleep and are surviving on caffeine and nicotine, right? Like it's like this catch-all thing to here to serve your country, and it's like. That's how I'm interpreting it in the context of this post, is like it's this catch-all, like when Chiefs during the Chiefs season say, oh, like you'll understand later, right? Like pointed barbs and shit. It's an excuse for intellectual laziness and leadership incompetence, in my opinion. Again, in the context it's being used, right? But then if you think about like the idea of serving your country generally, right? I don't think it's a bad thing, and I don't think it's not real, right? And I think that the two ideas of like serving your country as this like general concept that is often not like elaborated on, and just it being a job and you're punching the clock, right? And like you're exchanging whatever labor or time done doing whatever task for a paycheck. They're both true. They're both happening at the same time. Whether you feel it or not is the difference, right? And that's really the like crux of the issue, even though it's being used, it's almost being like weaponized in a weird way. And this post is like the concept of serving your country is like a feeling people have of this, this like purpose to serve something greater than themselves, the thing being the country that is the United States, and the idea that is the United States, and the idea that stems from like the founding documents and the history that we learn in high school and some in college probably, and like the romanticized vision of the idea that is the United States of America, right? And protecting freedom and our way of life and all the things, right? And all the people that live inside the borders and all that kind of stuff. So, which includes our families and friends and everything we love, right? So it's home. So you're protecting home. And it's like there's a passion and a like an inspiration-based motivation that comes from really, truly believing in that idea and moving through your military career with that hardwired into you in some way. It's why I joined the military. Like I had a very romantic idea in my head of what it was going to be like, of the idea of service in the military to my country, blah, blah, blah. Like, I mean, I was watching Pearl Harbor and like Men of Honor on repeat before I joined and stuff. But I was a young kid, and it seemed romantic, and it seemed like an adventure, and it seemed like something worthwhile to do with my life. And I'm from a military family, and I kind of, I had a romantic idea of it in my head, and then I went to college, and 9/11 happened, and then if you're already kind of at that preset stage, right? Like if those are your base settings, and then something like 9/11 happens. It was the easiest decision in the world. I dropped out of college, joined the military. The rest is history, right? I don't think everybody does that. I don't think that's like the reason why everybody joins the military. I think there's like a certain component of it that can look different for different people. But I don't think everybody's joining the military just to serve their country. I think a lot of people join the military for like college money or stability or a better future for themselves. Like a lot of people in the military come from like a low socioeconomic status background, and it's a really great way to outrun that and kind of set up your future family for a much better life. The benefits are insane. And those have been kneecapped in the last 10 years with getting rid of the traditional pension system and stuff, but there's still really great benefits for college and for all the other things, depending on what a person wants to do and such. But I think a lot of people join for the stability, for the paycheck, the benefits while you're on active duty and when you separate or retire. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think both things. So I'm going to address the both things existing at the same time within one person. But I think the reason why it's it actually, the why I said most of the time, it's just this idea, but when the rubber meets the road, right? When we're asked to do what we're here to do, which is kinetic conflicts, project power and all that kind of stuff, but combat and war and doing the damn thing. It's if you signed up just to do this as a job, when those things happen, it could be a liability. I don't even know that it always will be a liability because of the environment that you come up in, regardless of if you're all about that, you're Hoo-yah Navy, or you're can't wait to get your DD-214. It's there is a fierce loyalty to your friends and the community that you build on whatever platform you're on, whatever community you're in, right? You may hate the military, the branch that you're in. You may hate your chain of command, your direct leadership, like your chief. You may hate everything about government service that exists, but almost universally, I would say the people love the people. The people that are in and serving, the thing that everyone always misses the most is the people that they worked with, right? So a really great case study is I think it's episode 56 or something like that, 50 something. It's called Determined Response, and it was the CMC of the Cole at the time given an interview and kind of his recollection of everything that happened while he was on the Cole right after it was bombed, and the response and everything else. And it's just the things that he talked about. It was he talked about the hard things, but he talked a lot of the ways that he described what happened, and the things you could tell he liked to highlight the most were his sailors taking care of each other and the ingenious ways that they found to improve quality of life in that horrific environment, and to take care of each other, and the ways in which they did that and went way above and beyond in a crazy, stressful, dangerous, violent situation. It was, you could hear it in his voice, and you could tell just by paying attention to the things he decided to highlight. It's I would have a hard time believing it would be a liability 100% of the time. But it could be. And so that's the thing, that if there's a drawback, that would be it. But at the same time, the way I kind of think about it is the part that's important is the benefit that could be had if we took more time and effort to create this. And I think you can create it. Like, I think you can build into our culture and the person as they're being onboarded to the military. Like, you can create this sense of service to your country and pride in doing so for very valid reasons that can be separate from your feelings about the organization as a whole, your feelings about your direct supervision and leadership, right, on the ship and like the command culture. It can be separate from all those things. Like, the two things can exist at the same time. Like, that's possible. People are complex. You're able to separate out your feelings for different things if you take the time to work on that and think about it in a way that makes any kind of sense. You don't have to hate the Navy and hate your chain of command and hate your country because they're all the same thing, because they're not. Your ship is an organization. It's a hierarchy full of people. It's a human organization trying to do a specific mission. And there's like multiple levels from, I mean, you're talking about like your little day-to-day, I don't even, like, it depends on what you do and where you are and what platform you're on, but like your little group of people that you work with every day, call it your work center, and then your division, and then your department, and then your command, and then your squadron and group, or whatever they call it on whatever community, and then up and up and up it goes till you get to like the big Navy, like Department of the Navy type stuff. And even that's not your country. That's just your branch of service. And so then it continues to go up and up and up and up, right? And then there's an ability to create a division, like just a separation between the idea that is the United States of America, like the ideal version of, based on our founding documents and ideas and the discourse that happened amongst all the people that went about creating it, and the dumpster fire that you see in DC on a regular basis if you pay any attention to like politics and governing and lawmaking and stuff, right? So it, like, I think that that it's not only possible, but it's like necessary to separate those things out. And us as an organization could be doing an infinitely better job of that starting day one when we're indoctrinating people into the military. It's like, you can build that in. And I always harp on like the whatever they're doing at Marine Corps boot camp, like, is the model we should all have. And you can program in your own, like what you want to the person to be when they come out the other end of this process. But whatever they're doing at Marine Corps boot camp, like, I just can't say enough good things about the product that comes out the other end, as far as like how professional they are most of the time. I know Marines are a wild bunch when they're at the barracks and stuff, but like, and on weekends, but like, I'm just saying, the pride they have in their service and in their branch of service and in the title of being a Marine, and on and on it goes, right? And they have all their own complaints. So I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying they do a much better job of installing the values and pride in the Corps and pride in being a Marine and stuff. And they very heritage based, right? Which I've talked about in the past being something that I believe is important and something that I believe would be critical to creating this. Is like, if you started from day one and you created in them by teaching them these things, like the heritage and the reasons why we're doing the thing that we do, and the pride in your service, the pride in your rate, the pride in your warfare community, the pride in the heritage and the story and the founding documents that are the idea that is the United States of America. It's like, you could do all those things and spend time really installing into people why they should care and why we do what we do, and how they are a part of something much, much bigger than themselves, and how they, like, this isn't just a job. Whether you like it or not, whether that's why you joined or not, you're here now. You voluntarily joined this organization, and here's what we do here, and here are our values and norms that you're being indoctrinated into. Again, whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, because you joined the organization. Like, you made the decision. Hopefully you did the research, but like, you're here now, and here's what we're doing. And like, really build those things into them. And it won't take universally, like, everybody's not going to like drink the Kool-Aid and come out, Star Spangled Awesome on the other end, like super inspired and motivated to serve their country. But I think it would do a lot to kind of reorient the way people process their military experience. Now, that being said, once you're in the fleet, as they say, holy shit, you know, like, let's start at this guy's, I'm assuming it's a guy, just because this brain dead analysis could only come from a man, I think. But anyway, it just feels like a dude wrote this. I'm just saying. Maybe I'm wrong, but so he's talking about like people complaining about little things and they don't have much going on. What the fuck who doesn't have much going on? In the military, particularly in the manning retention hellscape that we find ourselves in right now, like who's not busy? Who doesn't have a lot going on? Who's not doing their job, somebody else's job, and fucking 10 collateral duties and standing watch and on 3-section, 4-section duty and this, that, and the other? Yeah, I mean, like who are these people? Where do you work? Where there are people, or where are you observing through the lens of the internet that like people are just sitting around not doing anything? Because like, I know there's a lot of CTs that listen to this podcast, and I could understand there being a perception from the outside looking in that all they do is sit around in an air-conditioned windowless basement and fucking scroll Facebook or something. That's not what's happening. And they work crazy hours, and there's not enough of them, and they are stressed out, and they're asked to do too much, and blah, 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 blah. Even though they're not haze gray and underway, it's like, they're stressed out. They have, you know, like poor leadership and shitty command climates, and they're overworked and underpaid and asked to do more with less, just like everyone else, right? So where are these people? Like, tell me where they are. Tell me where there are idle hands inside the skin of the service so that somebody somewhere can like reallocate those resources to help some of the other people that are redlining and undermanned and et cetera. Like, I just find that to be like, it just sounds like an embellishment, like a false embellishment to try to make their point. Like, and it's really like intellectually lazy, but it's like, it sounds like a false embellishment of their already flawed argument to try to make it sound more like forceful or correct, which I just, come the fuck on, man. Like, I mean, I'm always open to being wrong, as I said, but like point out where they are, and don't point at some transient division of people on restriction waiting to get kicked out for disciplinary issues. Cause you know, like they're picking up trash and painting fucking curbs and stuff, but like, that's not somebody I can use meaningfully. And then, so then I made some just general notes about some of the message and the kind of the flavor of this, and I'm going to read one of those now. This brain dead mentality is what makes things difficult for everyone. This isn't on them, as if blind compliance will make their lives rainbows and unicorns all of a sudden. And stop complaining or get out. Are you fucking serious? Like they're throwing 6-figure bonuses at anybody that can fog a fucking mirror right now. And someone who's presumably in a leadership position based on the tone of this post is advocating for people to get out. Like seriously? Yeah, I mean, how about do your fucking job and develop these people? Because like, that's what you get paid for, besides serving your country, which I'm assuming you're doing. And then like, yeah, fucking maybe we'll be doing a lot better. Maybe they won't have as much to complain about if you didn't suck. But then also like they're not making it difficult for them. Fucking you are. People like you are. Leaders like you are. And it's like, I cringe even saying leader. Like, it's like, dude, get your shit together, man. Read a fucking book. Like, figure out that you have certain responsibilities. One primary one of which is to like play the hand you're dealt. Like, you get detailed who you get detailed. Manning and retention hellscape. Okay, you don't get to pick, especially like you're probably undermanned anyway. So like the ones that you have, you should be using all of the leadership abilities you have at your disposal, which, I mean, you might want to address improving those, but fuck, man, like you have to train and develop them. And yeah, like there was a really insightful post later about like the two things sailors hate the most are change and things staying the same. Like, yeah, they're going to complain. Because no matter what we're doing and how well everything's going and how well trained everybody is and how high the leadership competence is and how great the command culture is, everyone's always going to be working their asses off to get this thing done. And they're going to be stressed out no matter what, whether it's a healthy level of stress that they're doing the things they need to do to manage, or if it's a toxic level of stress because on top of all the hard shit they have to do all the time, they're then having everything exacerbated by leadership incompetence like this. It's always hard, and they're always going to have to vent that pressure that builds up off, right? That's just it's a relief valve lifting. It's part of the mechanics of sailors. Like, it is what it is. And you making the point that everybody starts at the junior levels where it's somehow simpler, and I would argue it's simpler, that doesn't make it fucking easier. That their life is so simple that, like, it's a simpler job at the lower level and everyone has started there. Stop making things so damn difficult for yourself and others. Yeah, everybody started there, including you. So why don't you put your fucking recall hat on and remember back to when you were a junior sailor and the experiences that you went through? Because I refuse to believe that you were this little moto hoo-ya robot that didn't have any fucking complaints and didn't have that relief valve lifting all the time. No matter if you had that sense of service throughout the whole thing and you're Mr. Patriotic hoo-ya fucking rolling in on roller skates with fireworks out the back and your Macho Man Randy Savage America Pride fucking costume on. But okay, cool. And then you presumably went into your shop and worked your fucking ass off and got stressed out and then vented it off in the smoke pit or on the weekends partying with your friends or whatever. That's just what happens. Like, that's just how we deal with the stress, right? Okay, let's wrap that thought and move on to the next one. I already talked about that. Let's see. Separating out the ideas I already talked to, but did I miss anything there? I don't think so. And I said I did that too. All right. So the majority of this is, and some of the people were kind enough to point out that this guy is bitching just like the bitching that he's bitching about, which I thought was pretty funny. But I have a hard time understanding how somebody who, by their own admission, we all come from the same place, right? Like, they did the work at the lower level. That's why I'm assuming this is a chief. It's like they started at the beginning doing the hard thing, but it was simpler in their warped idea of what happened at the beginning. I don't know. I can agree that the task is simpler for sure. Like, it was a much simpler life when all I had to do was wake up, caffeinate, go into the galley for 14 hours straight, 7 days a week, and just do the work, and then I'd get off watch, finish my paperwork, I'd go work out, and then I'd go to bed. It was like being in prison. That's how I described it to people. Like, I got up, I did my work. There's probably more downtime in prison, to be honest. I did sleep a lot because back then I had the freedom to do that because I didn't have collateral duties and I didn't have to stand a different watch. I just got up and worked. And then when I was done working, I worked out because I prioritized that. And then I went to bed. Did it again, 7 days a week for the whole deployment, and then you stay in 3-section, 4-section duty, depending on how many people you have. And, but you're still coming in and working the normal hours, which, normal military hours in port. So, it was much simpler. It was I wasn't stressed out about the 10 million things I was in charge of and the people that were depending on me and all those other things. Like, it's a much more complex and different type of stress. Cause a lot of people perceive chiefs are just sitting around with their coffee cups in their hands, not doing shit. That could be true if somebody's bad at it or willfully, malingering, I guess. But the most of the time what you see is it's just my job consists of a lot of admin. A lot of shit in front of a computer. It's planning, it's making phone calls, it's sending emails, it's going to staterooms or wherever, it's meetings, it's briefs, it's fucking going with Seaman Timmy to their court date. It's all this shit that it's like being a professional parent in a lot of ways. But it's a different kind of stress, and it's a lot more complex. It requires a lot more education in how people work and how to motivate them, how to discipline them, how to educate them on all these things, because you're teaching them about how you're basically finishing adults. Like, you're finishing parenting these kids into adulthood while also trying to teach them their profession, and advise them through every single aspect of their life. And it's very complex and hard to do. And a lot of people don't even understand the assignment, let alone are they ever, like, prepared and qualified to do it. So it becomes like a whole different version of the stress that you encounter as a junior sailor. And it's not any like more or less severe in any way. It's just different. I can't say I was more stressed out as a chief ever than I was as a junior sailor. I think it was just different. And I don't think junior sailors really take that into account all the time, because most of the stressful interactions are never in front of them. Like, they view chiefs as just like the stuff that the interactions they have with a chief is a one-way street. And it's like, no, that chief is getting punched in the mouth all the time. You just never get to see it. And it, sometimes it's just because things are hectic and we're behind schedule and maybe something's broken that's underway limiting or whatever. But sometimes it's because they're not doing a good job. They're not meeting the metrics. Whether that's their fault or not, like the point is, if they're not meeting the standards of those above them, they are also getting pulled into a room with the door closed and told how inadequate they are and blah, blah, blah. You just don't get to see it. And I'm not even talking about like disciplinary action, to be clear. Like, I'm talking just about like the normal daily routine. Like, it happens all the time, every day. Somebody's telling me the things that I haven't done and kind of like, whether it's kind of like overt or like they're trying to like sneak it. It's like sneaky, where they're like, it's like a tone of voice or like some really choice words and phrases to kind of imply like, like, hey, you better fucking catch up, or you better get on top of this thing, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's not always like, hey, you're fucking behind, or like, it's not always explicit. The way in which I interpreted this thing entirely was just like, it's a very, saying the quiet part out loud. It's a very like, some insight into what the leadership and competence that I harp on so much. Like this, what I mean by that is this. This is what I mean by that. This is a very, prevalent analysis, I would say. Like, I've heard chiefs say shit like this, and I've like I always pushed back, whether it was just like I remember a conversation with me and this young chief. He's a good, smart dude, still in there killing it. But he was very young at the time and was still kind of trying to figure things out. And he was bitching him, and I think I've brought this up before. He was bitching and moaning about his divo sucking, like, and he couldn't wait till they moved him to a different division because he was so terrible and he was just making his life harder. And I was like, yeah, well, whose job is it to train division officers, chief? You know what I mean? Like, if he sucks, it's a reflection of your training. So what the fuck? Like, go do your job. And that's the same exact like reaction I had when I saw this. Was just like, how about go do your fucking job? How about that? Maybe, and I'm not, sailors are always going to complain. That's the relief valve lifting. I understand that. And if you can't handle that, maybe it's time for you to fucking pack it in. But also, maybe just teach them, maybe just educate them, and maybe develop in yourself the muscle to like recognize and and separate the difference between those two things. Like when a sailor's just venting off pressure and when a sailor is bitching and moaning because they're doing that in lieu of like the task. But even then it's like, it's a signal of an unmet need no matter what, right? Like them having to vent like that, the unmet need is they need to vent. They need to get some of that stress off. And that's one of the ways that they do it. Another one, and there's all those like those lists that everybody laughs at from like mental health on like the self-care stuff. Like that's a lot. Those are a lot of the things that are good. I mean, they do work if you actually have time to do them and it's not you sacrificing sleep to make it happen, because sleep's on the list. But you know, like all those things work if you can manage it. But a lot of times, especially on deployment, you're just so slammed that you can't manage it. So what do you have? Like, what can you do besides punching your chief in the face that's not going to end well for you? You vent verbally. You start just venting off some of that built up angst by bitching about something. Cool, let it happen. It needs to happen. They need that. They need that time. And it's not like let's not pretend that presumably a chief, I'm just assuming for the sake of the discussion and because I'm pretty sure it is just based on what I read. It's like, let's not pretend that chiefs aren't going and closing the door to the chief's mess and bitching and moaning about all the things that are stressing them out. It's the same fucking thing. The wardroom does it too. Sometimes we do it together. It's like it's just a thing. It's part of the normal life cycle. Like, and it's healthy. They need to do it. So like, what the fuck are you bitching about? Pun intended. But also like, I mean, this is just like a cry for leadership development from this individual. It's like, you gotta learn. You got to go figure out that people are way, way more complex than this, and that the organization is way, way more complex than this, and that your responsibility to the organization and these people is not met by this brain dead take, by this brain dead interpretation of how that you're supposed to be interacting with sailors as a leader. Like, it's just fucking wildly, wildly off base. And just like such a vivid demonstration of leadership incompetence. It's like, and that's a problem. And if you're new here, it's a problem that I don't think is your fault, because the organization thrust you into this position without ever educating or qualifying you to do it correctly. That being said, it's like, you're only doing harm to the next generation by not addressing that issue yourself. By not, self-educating, seeking out resources, reading, finding a mentor, all the things, right? Like, I mean, yeah. This one was rough, man. Like I read this and it's just like, it's one of those things where you just read it and you're like, this can't be real. Like, is somebody just trolling? Are you just trying to get like to trend on Reddit? I just because it is like a throwaway account. I went to the name to see like what other interactions that they have on Reddit, like what subs they're in, and like try to get some more context on like the kinds of things that they say. And that this is the only post that they have, so it's a throwaway account. But it's disappointing. That's the best word for it. It's like it's disappointing and disheartening that there are still people that think this way. And it's, like I said, I mean, it's more common than I wish I had to admit. Like, if we're being honest, it's more common than I want to admit. And this is a type of leadership that is viewed as toxic. And I don't think this guy's a sociopath. I just think he's incompetent. But the effects of that incompetence, it develops a toxic work environment, and it develops a hatred from the juniors to the seniors. And then they kind of broaden that scope to include chiefs instead of just this chief. And then at some point that gulf is such that they're just going to get out. They're just going to separate. They're going to vote with their feet. And then we're going to have a manning and retention hellscape like we do right now. And then what? It's like clearly all the force shaping tools that they're using are not working to address this issue. They're trying to put Band-Aids on bullet holes. They're trying to give people money, trying to buy loyalty. They're trying to lower standards to get people to stick around. They're trying to do all kinds of things that are these like shallow, self-serving, like Band-Aids on bullet holes. Like they're trying to push the easy button to fix this problem. It's not going to fix it. It's not. You have to fix leadership. You have to fix like the experience that juniors have with their seniors. Like, and that relationship can be like E4 to E6, E6 to E8, E8 to 06, or whatever the fuck, however you want to paint that picture in your head. Leadership incompetence is the problem. Until we make meaningful attempts to fix that, to really educate and qualify people to be in the leadership positions that they're put into, just like we do for a watch station, or we're supposed to, and I think by and large we do. You're not going to stand a watch you're not qualified to stand. So why are we putting people in leadership positions that are not qualified to do it? And this shit is the result right here. I'll wrap it there. I was really disappointed and frustrated by this post. I'll post the episode link in the comments in the hopes that they listen to it. If they do, they probably won't make it to this point because of the comments I made about it being brain dead and them being the problem. But if you do, that's me letting my frustration peek through. But I'm always here to talk. I would love to help. If you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for some education, if you don't want to interact with me directly, just listen to the podcast. There's thousands of hours. I might be making that up. It's probably like 1,000 or something. I don't know. There's a shitload of episodes over almost a decade. So like there, and if not me, go listen to any of the other people. Like Jocko is great. I'm a fan of Jocko. There's plenty of other leadership resources out there: books, podcasts, audiobooks, YouTube videos, etc. But yeah, and for anyone else, if you need anything from us, hit us up. Don't Grow the Ship Podcast at gmail.com. You can Facebook message us, Don't Grow the Ship Podcast. Or you can DM us on Instagram, Reddit, or Discord at DGUTSpodcast. If you want to support us, you can go to dgutspodcast.com. There's a donate button in the upper right-hand corner of the website. Or you can go to the shop button, which takes you to dgutsapparel.com. Get yourself some native pride and heritage gear you'll actually wear in public. Or go to patreon.com/dgutspodcast. Pick one of the 5 tiers. Become a member today. It would help a lot. Lowest tiers, $5 a month. And it helps us a ton, and you'll barely notice it's gone, I promise. It's only $5. But if you can't afford to spend any money, totally understand. You can like, share, subscribe, review on all the platforms for all the things. Subscribe on YouTube, consume the podcast that way. It'll help us get monetized faster. We're close, but need more watch hours and some more subscribers to meet their metrics. And then, share the podcast, follow us on Instagram, tag your friends in the posts, share the posts, whatever's easiest for you. It all helps, and we really, really appreciate it. And that's it. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for listening, and don't give up the ship. Hey, shout out to all our level 5 patrons, Victoria Livingood, William McIver, and Mark Gallegos. To all our other patrons, we really appreciate your support. Helps to pay all the bills, expand the platform, and we couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. Please hit the like button, drop a comment down below on what you thought, and subscribe to the channel.